Run Your Story family, this is Allison Gaillard with Run Your Story, where every story needs to be heard. And guys, you are in for a treat because you're not getting one run story and you're not getting two today. You're actually getting 3 in 1. It's so good. This was so much fun to sit down with 2 of the state champs from St. Luke's cross country team and also their amazing coach, Coach Susie. And they are all 3 amazing, phenomenal women. And just what a legacy that they're all leaving, and just the mindset that they all have when it comes to running. They are extraordinary, and this was such an incredible interview. And I literally was blown away by these young women. And of course, Susie, she's just amazing altogether. So to be in the presence of these 3 was such a cool experience, and it is something I will never forget. Speaking of in their presence, we actually interviewed this at Do Goods. So that was really fun to be able to do. So huge shout out to Do Goods Mercantile and to Annie and Chops for allowing us to take over their store for a little while and have a podcast there. It was so much fun. And guys, it's the place to shop. I shop there quite often, and from their snacks, which I can 100% attest to their jewelry, to Father's Day gifts, grad gifts. If your mom didn't get that Mother's Day gift, get it. Summer gifts, guys, they've got it all. If your grad needs a bag for school, they've got it. Go to Do Goods Mercantile. You can find them at 202 St. Michael Street, which is downtown, or online at dogoodsmercantile.com. Guys, they're making this podcast possible for this month, and we are so grateful for them and their support and all that they do for our community with Run Good and giving back to just so many different organizations that believe in bettering one another. And they're incredible, and I absolutely love them. And Annie and Chops are just amazing. So guys, they are very particular about what they carry and the companies that they carry. Every company, their products either have a purpose or they give a donation to that. Everything matters, and that's incredible. Do Goods is committed to connecting us as customers to the companies who are uniquely generous and community-minded. That is making Mobile better. That is making our state better and our world better, guys. So go shop at Do Goods to make the world better. Thank you for listening to these 3 incredible runner stories and how they're so beautifully intertwined. Yay! I'm so excited because we have Coach Jones, Miss Jones to the running world. Susan Jones, thank you so much for coming out. Not only that, but you brought your state champions with you as well. So a first trio of runner stories. So I'm very excited. So Coach, what is your run story?
Well, my run story, if I'm being honest, which is what I have to be, I'm going to age myself. So I have been running now for about 31 years. And it started out, I was always athletic when I was young. I got out and I did things. And then in high school, it was primarily cheerleading. And I didn't do any running. Thought, I'm 4'11", what am I good for? Going up in there. So never really thought much about running. And then got married, started having babies. And after I had my 3rd child in 4 years, and my husband was in the Army, he was gone a lot. And it's just the normal day-to-day mommy stress, Army wife stress. And I started out by taking a walk, letting somebody watch the children so I could have 30 minutes to myself. And then that turned into, I really enjoy this. I see other people running. Maybe I'll try it. And I got into it, and I realized that when I took care of myself, and even though I wasn't with my children for 45 minutes or an hour, that I was a better mama to them. And I felt better. And just all the health benefits, the emotional benefits that come from running. And it just made sense. And it made everything better. So I guess it was more of a coping mechanism. It was cheaper than bail. I'm just saying. I didn't want to, you can't throat punch stupid people, but you can run.
So how did you get into coaching?
Okay, so coaching came all the way at the end. So I say the end. Oh, hope I'm not dying tomorrow. I hope that wasn't the end. Prophetic. But no, last year I've taught, this is my 19th year of teaching. but I've always coached cheerleading wherever I was, either cheerleading or physics. I know, go figure. Oxymoron, that implies. But I know, right? Dumb blonde teaching, yeah, whatever. I was approached by the cross country coach at our school. His name is Coach Seamus Russell. He's amazing. And he actually ran in college. So I just look up to him so much with his expertise. And he approached me and asked, would you be interested in helping train my girls? Because, you know, if I go out with the guys, let's face it, girls are not ever going to be able to run as fast as the guys. And we kind of get separated. Sure. So just in the sense of safety, and then when we go off to camps or races, they would have a female with them. And I was intimidated and humbled at the same time. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, you would actually trust me to do that. And at the same time, I'm like, oh gosh, I don't know anything about coaching. So he really took a chance on me. And so I did it and absolutely loved it. Like, I had no idea that I actually did have some advice that was probably of value, but I feel like I learned so much about them from them. And then based on their conversations with me, I realized, oh, you can take and analyze this and let's try this. So they helped teach me how to be a coach, which I know that just sounds so strange. And it's in juxtaposition of one another, but it really did. They helped me learn how to coach.
Oh, I love that. And your first year of coaching, you got state champions
right
here.
They did. First time in the history of St. Luke's Episcopal School for boys or girls.
What?
So,
yes. So let's turn to the champs. Go ahead and introduce yourselves.
I'm Ann Phillips.
And I'm Taylor Jackson.
So, girls, what is your run story?
I honestly had a kind of similar experience with Miss Jones. Growing up, I was a dancer. Then in 8th grade, I tried out for cheer. So then I stopped dancing and I did cheer from 8th grade up until 11th grade. Then it's kind of funny because me and Taylor do everything together and don't do anything if the other one's not there. So in 10th grade, Coach Russell, he kind of gaslit us into doing it, if I'm going to be completely honest. So he convinced us to do track our sophomore year of high school. Okay. And we honestly only started doing it because we had the other one to do it with. But another more personal part to my running story is I'm named after my Uncle Charlie. And he passed away whenever he was 21. So I was not born yet. He was a major runner in Mobile. He did road races. He ran at Murphy and then later went to Bevel State. And then he was actually going to transfer to Auburn and run for them. And he was home for Thanksgiving break when he passed away when he was 21. So whenever I was born, my parents decided to name me Charlie Ann after him. So it was kind of whenever I started running, I felt and my family felt like I was carrying on his legacy. So it was kind of just...
I'm going to start crying now. Oh, my word.
Yeah, it was kind of just like a thing that I was like, man, I really enjoyed this. And it kind of just felt right whenever I started doing it. So that was mine.
Wow.
And if I may interrupt, what's interesting about that is everybody has their own unique running, like your gait and your style and your whatever. And Coach Russ and I discussed that when we saw Charlie Ann run, we dubbed her a natural runner. If you watch her run, it's like she was literally meant to do that. She's built for it. And then when I said that, I had no idea about her Uncle Charlie. Like, I had no idea. And so it was like, oh, okay.
Right. We're messing with forces here. Yeah, I understand. Wow.
Well, my story isn't as cool. I did start the same time as Charlie Ann, but for different reasons, I think. So I played soccer. My family's very big baseball and soccer family. I never really ran that much, and if I ran, it was for punishment and for soccer. And so I joined track with Charlie Ann that year, and I was like, oh, I'll do cross country to train for soccer to get in shape because you condition, and it's awful. So I was like, maybe it'll make conditioning a little bit better if I decide to do cross country. And so I did it, and I was like, I'll quit soccer because I actually like this better. And so me and CA run Charlie Ann. We run full time all year now, and that was not my intention at all. and somehow I'm running in college. So
For Spring Hill.
I'm running for Spring Hill. So
Yeah, that's
it was
awesome.
not my intention at all. And even when I did track that sophomore year, I only went to one practice out of the week because I had soccer practice after school. So I had no advancements in my training because I would only go once a week. So I didn't actually start improving until I dropped everything and gave running my full attention.
Wow.
I know.
Wow. I'm not even going to run anymore. There's no point. Having
Yes,
stories
there is.
like that. That is, y'all are just amazing. Huge fan. I'm going to need an autograph before you leave because, wow.
That's why when you approached me
incredible.
about my story, I was like, well, I don't really know that I have anything worth hearing. And that's why I immediately said, can I bring you my girls? Because they're the ones I want to prop up in front of you because they're amazing.
Wow. Man. So what are some lessons that you've learned from running, Coach?
Probably the lessons I've learned from running is that you can't judge your running by that bad run day.
Yes.
Oh my
Right?
word. When you have that bad run day, it can mess with your head. You can think, oh, I thought I was kind of good at this. I thought this was kind of my thing, but how could I stink this badly? And you just cannot, you just have to put that bad run aside. Know that it was just a bad day. You're an athlete. You're good at this. You enjoy this. You excel at this. And there's just going to be another day for a good run. And you know what? There's also going to be another day for a bad run. And you're going to ignore it like you did this time. So that's probably one of my biggest lessons I've learned.
Wow.
Because I'm a perfectionist by nature. So anytime I don't perform at the level of expectation that I have for myself, then I put that, oh, well, you're a failure. And I thought, not doing that.
Yeah.
Because then it steals the joy away.
Right. Absolutely. I bet she's your personal hype girl. Isn't
Yes.
she? Yeah.
Dare I say cheerleader?
Wah, wah,
But
wah.
what's interesting about the two of us is we were both, I was a trail maid, she's a trail maid. My color was peach, her color's peach. It's kind of weird.
And they look alike for anyone that
I was about to say,
not-
I'm looking at them. They're both blonde.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm the odd one out in this.
No,
No,
we're
you're
together.
wonderful.
You and me. I'll be your sneaky. I won't run as good as you, but I'll be your sneaky. I love that. Girls, what are some lessons that you've learned?
Honestly, mine are kind of similar to Miss Jones in the fact that, well, I would say actually all three of us are pretty much perfectionists. We do something moderately off and we beat ourselves up for it for a pretty long time. But I think for me, some of the biggest lessons that I've learned is your times don't define you, I guess, because for me, cross country was always what I loved the most. And everybody always says that your second year of cross country, you kind of get into a slump where it kind of becomes routine and you don't peak as well as you did. Like my first year, I was improving every single race.
Sure.
And my senior year, my last year, was also my second year. And there was a lot of times where I was so focused on hitting a time so I could run in college that it debilitated me. So I think one of the lessons that I had to learn was run because you enjoy it, not because you're trying to prove something. And then honestly, one of the biggest things in my family has always been you get what you earn, not what you deserve. So for me, earning my times was also a big thing for me.
They should already just go ahead and write a book.
Yeah, all that's the same for me. But I think also coming into running so late and seeing all these really well-developed runners, us coming in and we're
scary.
yeah, we're coming in, we're 17 years old, and there's people that have been running since they were 5. And so, and so it's really hard to comparing yourself with them and your time's not lining up with them. And also I've realized that, so me and CA are so different. Our races are not the exact same at all. We're not running the same times, and there's strengths and weaknesses for everyone. And not comparing yourself with everyone. I think that's the biggest thing. And I'm out there because I love it, and I'm not there exactly just for my time because I enjoy running. That's all. It's the only reason I'm there. So
I absolutely love that. Wow. Man, I'm jealous. I wish I would have been on like the tour bus with you guys. So what is your favorite race and why?
Ooh, now are you talking distance or the race itself, like a location?
A race, yeah. Favorite race and why?
Gosh, that is a super difficult one because I do have so many races in my repertoire, shall we say, at this point. But I'm going to go ahead and go with the Houston Marathon.
Ooh, okay.
And it was a difficult race. It was very hot. It's very flat. So when you're running a marathon, just because the distance is so long, if you can have some hills and valleys and then some flat, the benefit to that is that you use different muscle groups. So not one muscle group is used up the entire time. Houston was almost completely flat, and it was about 81 degrees, and it was humid. So it was very difficult, and I was trying my best to BQ, and I didn't. But I PR'd by 17 minutes. I missed BQ by 13, though.
What? Wow.
I figured out that when it wasn't the most ideal of situations, and I did use that same muscle group, my last mile was probably, I'd have to look back at the stats, but it was one of my fastest miles.
Wow.
So it let me know, you know what? It's possible. You're going to be able to do it. You just got to keep working at it.
Dude, that PR is amazing. Wow. All right, CA, what is your favorite race and why?
I honestly have two.
Okay.
So
I also do.
yeah.
I sure do.
I told y'all we're literally the three of us are like the same person. But for cross country, I would say state, obviously, because we won. But honestly, not because we won, but because we didn't think we could. She'll probably say the same thing, but we wanted second. So we were running for second, and then we all started coming in the finish line, and we're looking at the scoreboard, and we're in first. And I think I stood there for 10 to 15 minutes waiting on it to change because I honestly did not think that it was real.
Really?
And it was honestly just this giant moment of shock, serotonin, like disbelief that I did not even think was ever possible. And it was honestly because we thought we were running for second. And there's this team, Cold Springs, that wins every single year. And it was just honestly wild, if that's really the right word that I can use, because it was our senior year, it was our last race, and it was just insane. But for track, I would say my favorite race would be, we did indoor this year, a few of us, and it was my indoor state mile race. Also, not because I won or anything like that. I definitely did not win that race, but in indoor, a mile is double the laps, so it's 8 laps. And I was about 2 hours before the race, I was freaking out. I was so scared because you're in this big arena and the track is down. You're surrounded by all these people and everybody's watching you. And I think that I got in my head incredibly bad, and I was like gagging before, I was crying, I was terrified, and I even asked Coach Russell, I was like, can I just drop out? Because I genuinely think that I'm going to blow it. And he was like, no, you cannot, which is a very Coach Russell thing to do. So I got on the line, and Coach was standing on the floor just telling me to take deep breaths, have fun with it. He was like, this is indoor, we've never done it before, nobody expects anything of you. But me being a perfectionist, I expect way more of myself than anybody else does. And I ended up actually PRing by 20 something seconds. And it was honestly the fastest feeling mile. It was incredibly strange because I wasn't out of breath. I wasn't hurting. And it was just probably the most fun track race that I've ever had. So those are my two.
Wow.
So actually my favorite cross country race was last year, or this past, when I was in 11th grade. I was notoriously a very mental runner all season. And so I found that I wasn't very good at racing by myself. Like, it was really nice to always have a partner on the team racing with. And so one of the seniors before me, her name's Anne Bentley, and she goes to BSC and plays tennis. I raced with her all season, and it was helping me having her there. And so her very last race, she PR'd by 3 seconds from a record or a PR that she set her 8th grade year.
Wow.
And she ran every single year, 8th grade to senior year. And she wasn't able to hit that time again. And so her very last race, I helped her and we crossed the line. We had 2 seconds faster than her PR. It was such a good moment to see that this was her last race and that I helped her get there. And it meant so much to me. And I didn't really have anyone to run with senior year like her. And so I was super sad that I didn't have her the last season. And then my second race that I think it didn't actually count for the school. I ran the Big Beach Half Marathon.
Okay, yeah.
In what year was that? 2021 or 2022?
It was last.
Oh yeah, well,
Yeah,
it's January.
it was January,
Yeah,
so 2022.
2022. And so it meant so much to me because this is my very first year of running. I think it was like 8 months into my running career. And I decided randomly that I was going to run a half marathon in January. And we started training right after state for cross country. And it meant so much to me because we would get up and train. It was a small group of us from our team. And we'd train on the weekends and we'd set times. And while everyone else was sleeping in, we decided to go on our long runs. And upping our mileage like that was so fun. We'd run in Spring Hill. Some of the most fun I've ever had training with them. And when I crossed the finish line, I found out that I got first in my age group somehow for my first half marathon. Well, I don't really know. And not that like I ran some crazy time or anything, but it showed me, I was like, well, maybe people my age aren't doing this stuff. It was a reality because this whole time I've been comparing myself to people and other runners, but seeing that maybe I am doing something different. And it was so fun. And I love that distance. And I would have never had the opportunity if I never started.
Oh, that is so cool. I love that. So let's go over pre-race routine. Do you have one?
I do.
Okay.
So I make sure I go to bed early. I lay all my clothes out and take a picture of it and put it on IG. And when I get up in the morning, I do like I do every morning. I have my a cup of coffee. I poop. Can I say that on a podcast? I just did. Anyway, so we do that because we know we need to do that. And I eat half of the waffle. Stinger waffle.
Oh, okay, yeah. Honey stinger.
Yes, honey stinger waffle. I try to eat sometimes a whole one depending on the distance of the race.
Sure.
But I eat half of one of those and I'm good.
There we go. I love it.
My pre-race routine, obviously, never really got to perfect it because I only ran for 3 years. But since we're the same person, lay my clothes out the night before. Don't take a picture of it, but I do lay them out. And then the morning of, me and my family, we drink these Advocare drinks, the Spark. So I usually have half of one of those, and then I always eat 2 slices of cinnamon raisin bread with butter and cinnamon and sugar on top. And then honestly, before the race, I try not to think about the race as much as possible because if I think about it too much, I will psych myself out. So I typically think about my race the night before instead of the morning of because I will freak myself out way too much.
Wow. Okay.
I don't have too much of a routine. I, of course, try to focus on hydration, especially for cross country. So liquid IVs the day before, as much as I can, just drinking as much water. I have a stomach of steel, I like to think, so I'll eat anything. I've had spicy chicken sandwiches before races, spicy pasta. It doesnit really matter to me. I just go and run. I don't prepare too much. Other than, as long as I'm hydrated, I'm good.
I love it.
I know many people listening are like, man, I wish I had
I definitely do not have that. The slightest change makes my stomach.
Yep. So post-race routine, what does that look like?
I always have either an orange or banana, but if they have both available, I go to a banana after I cool down a little bit, drink some water, and just walk around. If I stop, I'll get sore.
100%.
So, yeah.
My cool down routine, it's a little bit different for cross country and track. Cross country, it's more of kind of a walking around and typically jogging from point to point during the guys' race and timing them. But for track, we do a cool down run, which is real slow, just kind of chill. And then always after a race, I get either Cheez-Its or Pringles.
Okay.
Cheez-Its are typically more before the race, Pringles more after. Cheez-Its are bland. I need salt a lot before races because for some reason I like to cramp. And then afterwards I either get Pringles, fruit snacks, and I stretch.
There we go.
So.
Okay.
Also no post-race routine.
I just go with it.
Don't tell Coach Russell, but I don't do my cool down. And I also eat whatever. So
I love it.
That's awesome. Okay, these questions I'm dying to know. What is your favorite running item?
Oh, so I think for me, it's probably my Garmin and my AirPods. A lot of my running is solo. I try to get with people, but a lot of times I run, like right now, I run before work. And so it's not always that I can link up with folks.
Sure.
So I love my music and I love the metrics that my watch gives me.
Gotcha.
Honestly, I feel like my clothes kind of affect how I feel on a run a lot. If I feel a little uncomfortable, then I kind of have to battle that the whole time.
Sure.
So I honestly really like my Nike spandex, but I also really like my fanny pack. It's just a little tiny fanny pack that I can fit my phone in. I used it every single day at Brevard, our running camp, and it was honestly really amazing because I would put goos and fruit snacks and stuff in there. But I would honestly say my clothes is the biggest thing because if I don't feel comfortable or right, if something's riding up on my neck or too tight under my arms, it honestly just really throws me off. So I would say like my Nike spandex and certain tank tops and stuff.
There we go. I like it.
I think this is not very stereotypical, but I think I have ankle weights that I use almost every day to go on runs because I've had IT band problems before and hip problems. And so in order to run, I have to strengthen my hips and I lift a lot. So I think like my ankle weights and the bands that I've, which might be not very stereotypical, but, and then also, I guess going to clothes, also biker shorts. If I'm on a long run, I gotta have some biker shorts because I will chafe pretty bad. My thighs, for perspective,
She has beautiful thighs.
they're a little
You just
thicker
don't
than,
know. She has beautiful thighs.
they're a little thicker than CA's, but
Yeah, I'm a very tiny person.
so I think biker shorts and some ankle weights.
Got it. Wow. Okay. Favorite running shoes?
That's easy. The Alpha Flies by Nike. Hands down. Not even close. Did I mention I love them?
My running shoe journey, I guess you would say, was a little rough. I have really odd arches. They're not necessarily deformed or bad, just for some reason they like to affect my knees. So for me, it was kind of odd having to find a shoe that had enough arch support but also enough cushion for my knees. So this year I actually got the Saucony Endorphin Speed 3s, which are not typically used for distance. I have seen a few runners, I was looking at reviews and stuff, who used them for distance, but they were typically like, there's speed in the name. Sure. But for me, they were the perfect balance between arch and cushion. So those have honestly been my favorite.
I've had two pairs. I've had a pair of Alpha Flies also that I really liked. I had one pair and I used them in the half marathon and they were great, but I don't really get to use them for cross country or anything. And then I raced this track season with Max Flies, which is a spike that ranges from 400 meters to, well, actually it's the 100 meters to 400 meters. I use them for the 800, but it's just a sprinter spike.
Very nice. I like it. On your long runs, what do you like to fuel with?
I'm not good with you.
Okay.
That's an area I need to work on. I don't, because I do have a sensitive stomach. I have to be careful what I put on it. And quite frankly, I prefer to just have my cup of coffee and go with an empty stomach because I just feel like it's up in my throat if I eat too much before a long race.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Once again, me and Miss Jones over here are very similar, but before a long run, if it's pretty early in the morning, I'll just eat some Belvita or something kind of bland, and then about, I don't know, 5 minutes or less minutes before we go, I'll do some fruit snacks and drink a lot of water, but typically I don't really take anything with me, and then afterwards I kind of slowly get back into fruit snacks and then heavier foods after that.
Gotcha.
I can eat anything. And I do eat anything. And so it depends on what time of day it is.
Okay. Yeah.
But if it's like, we used to have some long runs our first season in the morning. And so I've even eaten cookies before I've run, but I would eat anything. And then in the afternoon, this past season, we'd only have long runs in the afternoon. And so I just eat regularly, make sure I eat enough protein and try to not eat something too heavy. But as long as I had food in me, because I can't, despite their opinions, like I can't run without fuel. Gotcha. I have to eat a lot.
Yeah, I like it. Favorite running memory?
Oh, goodness. I would have to say, I'm going to have to say two.
Absolutely.
So with regards to, because one is from a race and one's from training. So from a race, I would have to say it was the one time, because I've done lots of races with my daughters because they all run. But there was one time where in Disney, they used to have the Tower of Terror run, and it's the one at night.
Okay.
And you run through and you see villains. So it's a 10-miler, and they call it the Tower of Terror. And the medal has the Tower of Terror on it and everything. And our family loves Disney. My son Scotty found out that Christina and I were going to do it, and he joined us. So it was the only race that Scotty, it wasn't all my daughters, it was just one, because I have 4 kids altogether, 3 daughters, 1 son. And so I only had Christina, but it was our only time we raced with Scotty ever. And it was just so cool. It was so different to have a dude. So it was just, I love that race. And then for training runs, it would have to be, we had different runs out during the week this past year. So it was with these guys. Wednesday afternoons was what we considered our long run. And we would usually do, sometimes the lowest number we would ever do is like 6. But a lot of times we do 8. And there were a couple times when, got a little lost. So we did 9. That's fine.
9.5.
Yeah, we did that sometimes. Oops. So even with a garment. But yeah, it was our Wednesday afternoon long runs. I would look forward to that every week. Yeah. I loved that training run.
Those are definitely the most fun days.
Oh, I love that.
Back to the Wednesdays. This past cross country season, Coach Russell wanted to try this thing where he wanted to put me with the guys.
Yeah,
because
I had to kidnap her.
Yeah, on our team, for cross country, I was ranked first, but so running with the girls, sometimes I was way ahead, or I kind of had to pull back a little. So he wanted to try this thing because he heard it from another coach with putting your fastest girl with the guys. And one day he did not tell me that he was going to be doing that on a long run on a Wednesday until about 2 seconds before we were splitting up. So he looks at me and he goes, "CA, you're running with the guys." And Miss Jones goes, "What? No, she's not." And it was so funny because Coach and Miss Jones got into a little squabble about who was going to have possession of me for that practice. But that was just really funny. But my favorite running memory is, honestly, I actually wasn't running. This is just kind of one of my favorites. But there's 2 awards that are given out at the all-county banquet for cross country, the one that St. Paul's holds. And one of them, the one for senior guys, is actually in honor of my uncle. It's the Charlie Spencer Memorial Award. And then the one for the girls is the Larry Hall Memorial Award. And I sat through that banquet thinking, oh, for sure this girl from McGill, she's so fast, she's so buff. Like, I'm talking the perfect, ideal, what you would think of in a college runner. And I was sitting there and my coach did not hint at all that I was going to get it. And I had my family there, my grandparents were there, my uncle's parents, and they're talking about who's getting this Larry Hall Memorial Award. And they were like, she's active in her community, she's not been running for that long. And then all of a sudden, Coach Russell, he just kind of looks at me and I look at him, and it was just this moment. And honestly, for me, it was really surreal because I honestly didn't even really hear everything they said about me. Just in that moment, my parents looked at me, my grandparents looked at me, Miss Jones looked at me, my boyfriend Garrett looked at me.
I was trying to not look at her because I didn't want to give it away.
It was honestly this crazy thing because I got the Larry Hall Memorial Award, which is the female version of my uncle's. And it is in honor of somebody else, but it is kind of known as the female equivalent to my uncle's award. But it was insane to even think, because it was another one of those situations where I was like, well, I'm such a baby runner, there's no way I'm gonna get that. So it was just a really cool experience.
Oh, wow.
I kind of forget that, because I ran a Spartan race 2 years ago, and it doesn't go with school running, and so that's why I always forget that I even did it. So I haven't even brought it up yet, but I did a Spartan Super with 2 of my friends, and I think I don't know how long we did it, but it wasn't the fastest because we were just having fun.
Yeah.
But I think that was the most fun I've ever had, and that when I think about running and what it's brought to my life, I thought, like, I've had the opportunity to do stuff like that. It was so fun. We went to Jacksonville, Florida, and we spent the night there, and then we raced. It was a 10K race, but we did it pretty slow, but it was so fun. And also, we trained in Brevard, North Carolina, in an altitude training camp for the whole entire varsity team.
It was.
And it was really fun. We got to go and run through the Pisgah National, the trails, and it was just so fun. Yeah. So
That's
It
incredible.
was very pretty.
Wow.
We got
Yeah,
to
it
stop
was.
at waterfalls
Wow.
and
Yeah. You're like training there.
Yes.
Okay.
yeah, the trails we were running through, they were just so beautiful. Like, oh my gosh, I would go back in a
Because
heartbeat.
the terrain's not what we have here.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. So after you get done running, and let's say you've had a race and you're done, is there like a food that you're like, I cannot wait to eat this, to sink my teeth into?
Anything chocolate.
Okay. Anything chocolate.
Yep. Because there's no guilt.
There you go.
Not that I really feel guilty about eating chocolate the other 365 4 days a year, but
Okay.
After a long run, I noticed that every single time we would get back to the parking lot and everybody would be talking about, oh my gosh, I'm about to chug this water. I'd be like, dang, I really want some Sprite. And it was only after long runs.
Okay.
But
that is so weird because
Yeah.
for me it's Coca-Cola, and I don't drink soda pop, but I love
see,
Coca-Cola.
I don't drink Sprite
So
ever.
weird.
Ever. And it's always after a long
That's-
run, I'm like, dang, I could really like McDonald's Sprite that's just like kind of pure carbonation, like burns on its way down. I'm like, that sounds so good. But after a race, I'll eat anything. But the Sprite is one of the things that stands out.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm just keep it simple. Anything. I really don't know. I don't think I can think of any time that I like wanted something specifically. We always, depending on how far we are, our team goes out to eat sometimes. So when we go up to Andalusia and have some track meets or cross country meets, we'll go eat Mexican or
Okay.
just anything, I think.
You mentioned running jams. What are your running jams?
Oh gosh, mine are pretty eclectic. The two that I probably listen to more often than anything. One is called My Mellow Groove, and so it's got this amalgamation of 60s, 70s, 80s, it doesn't matter, love songs, fast songs, whatever. And so I love the variety of that.
Okay.
And then my other run track is, the title of that one is My Fave Jesus Music. So that one always, I probably listen to the Jesus music more than any other of the other one. But again, it's just all my favorite worship songs, because when you put the AirPods in, that's all you hear.
Yeah.
And when you're running by yourself, and a lot of times it's in the morning when the sun's coming up, and it's just that, it's when the sun comes up and you're at the very beginning of the day holds so much promise. And then when you put that together with the hope that I have in Jesus, it just kind of makes for a really great beginning to a day.
Oh, I love that so much. Oh.
So for me, all of my runs, I've typically always been with people. I would say really the only times I ever ran like by myself, I kind of listened to, I actually looked up a cadence music playlist,
Oh,
and it was
okay.
kind of just this weird hodgepodge of all of these 2000s songs and like all this weird stuff.
Were
But
you even born yet?
2005. I know the songs from before then though. But since I did start running with a team and it wasn't on my own, honestly, my favorite quote unquote running jam would be just conversation. I think my favorite runs are when we're all kind of distracted by what we're talking about.
Those Wednesday.
Yes, our Wednesday afternoon runs. But my first year on cross country, back to Anna Marie, one run, we were doing a fartlek run, and it was in a neighborhood, and Anna Marie had interviewed to be a trail mate, and I was about to do my first interview, and that run, we literally nonstop the whole time, from the moment we started running to the moment we got back to the school, we talked about what I would want in my dress whenever I made it. And I think just conversation whenever we're all kind of distracted, laughing, having fun is honestly my favorite kind of jam.
Oh,
Same here. We don't ever really listen to music, but I have before, especially on some long runs, just to have it there. I don't have a specific thing, but I also am very picky about my music. I hate country music. Do not play country for me. I do not pop. I dabble in some rap or whatever, but just alternative music. That's the only thing I ever listen to, period. Not running or not running. But as long as it's anything but country, I will be okay.
so in case anybody wants, you know how like baseball players have like a walkout song? We can get you a walkout song for Spring Hill.
Yeah.
We'll just blast some country music over here.
Oh, I think I wouldn't run.
I was gonna say you could run faster because you'd be like, I don't want to hear
She
this.
just walked right back into
Just to prove a point, I probably wouldn't run.
I love it.
What is your favorite recovery tool?
Oh gosh, probably the hot tub.
Oh,
I don't have one, but
that sounds great.
the times when it's been available, because we would either be at a hotel or like with the Houston.
Okay.
We stayed with my nephew. He lives in Houston, and his house, he had just put a pool in that had a hot tub at the other end.
Wow.
And I was probably in there for about 40. I mean, I was pruned.
Yeah.
And it occurred to me, feels so good.
Yeah.
So I really loved it.
Oh, I bet you felt so good the next day.
I did.
Too. Like you could move. And
I did.
Yeah,
like I wasn't sore. It was kind of weird.
Yep. You're like, kind of need a hot tub.
Yeah, I do.
Wink, wink,
I
Mr.
think there's
Jones.
yeah.
Hey, Luke, skip me.
Mine, a lot of times after races, I'll take not a cold shower person at all. I'll take like a cool shower, colder than room temperature, but I have this thing, I got it at Target. It's called a polar roller, and it's this like titanium ball on a handle, and it has, I don't even know what kind of liquid is in it, but you keep it in the freezer and then you just kind of roll it on your muscles, and it's honestly amazing. And my dad will tell you that I don't normally do it on myself. I always ask him to do it. So that's also nice that I don't have to do it myself, but it's definitely the polar roller.
Gotcha.
Can I say lifting? Like,
Absolutely.
Sure.
Lifting's my main thing.
Yeah.
Before running, after running, I can't run without lifting.
Very cool. That leads me, great segue into the next question. Favorite cross training activity? Yes, thank you.
For me, it's seasonal, but I love swimming. Yeah.
I'm with you.
And if it's not that, it's walking my dogs, because I get a lot of bang for my buck. The doggies get the exercise, and I can do something that's not, as much as I love running, sometimes it's nice to strap on my shoes and not run. Just
yeah. Very nice.
I'm also going to have to say weight room and swimming. There were a couple times where we went to one of the guys on our team's house, and he lives on this, I don't know, is it a pond, or is it bigger than a pond? Is it like like a small lake? And we would go out there and just swim in the lake and run around. So I would say weight room and swimming whenever we do stuff with other people. Not swimming by myself, that would be boring, but swimming with the team and other people.
Gotcha.
Yeah, lifting's my main one also. I bike here and there, but I don't even know if I'd say that's my main one. So just lifting.
Gotcha. What has been your worst race and why?
Oh, that's easy. My race was the marathon in Nashville. It had so many hills, and it was uncharacteristically hot. It was 86 degrees. They were forcing us to stop, and they would pour the salt packets you get like at McDonald's or whatever, a restaurant. They would pour it on your tongue, and they had mandatory pickle juice stops. That's how hot it was. It was brutal. That was the worst race.
Yeah, okay.
Glad I finished.
Yeah, absolutely.
Alive. I didn't die.
I kind of have two. One is definitely worse than the other. One of them is just really unfortunate that it happened. So both of them happened my first year cross country, which was my junior year. And I was still cheering. And well, that actually has nothing to do with the first one. But the first one, it was at Blakely State Park. And I was so excited to PR at this race because everybody was talking about, oh, it's a great course. There's barely any hills. So I'm cruising through it. I'm focused on PRing, and I'm coming around one of the very last turns of the course, and I'm literally like, the finish line is like less than 0.3 away, and I'm so excited. I'm picking it up, I'm going faster, and I literally trip on a root around a corner. I trip on a root.
Less than a mile.
Oh, less than half a mile away. I'm saying the finish line was maybe 0.3 away from where I was, and I trip on this dang. Oh, there was a lot of people, and I'm talking, I hit the ground, face in the dirt, and the girl behind me goes, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And hearing her voice, like the shock in her voice, honestly just kind of made it worse because all these people around me just stopped and looked at me, and I was like, and I came across the finish line with like dirt all over me, and everybody was just kind of looking at me like, dang, what happened to her? But on the,
you're like, I was fine.
Yeah.
Up until this moment.
Yeah, I literally, the race was perfect up until that moment. But we got through it. We got the PR, so we weren't that mad about it. But the worst race I think I've ever had, also my junior year, I was still cheering. And the night before, that Friday night, I had to cheer at an away game. And we had to ride the bus, and we were sitting there, and then we were on the way home. I didn't get home till 12:30 or 1 in the morning. I still had to pack my bags for the race, take a shower, get ready for bed. And I went to sleep and then had to wake up at 5 a.m., I think, and drive to Pensacola. And it was the Pensacola Stampede. But, oh my gosh, it was terrible. But after this race, for me, it became known as the Pensacola Puke.
Oh.
So I was not hydrated. I did not have enough food in me because I had been going all night, jumping around in the heat, being thrown up in the air at the football game. But I was running, and I was actually not doing terrible. And then all of a sudden, I just started feeling horrible. And typically during races, I mean, I've thrown up before, and I just kind of spit it out and keep going. It's not a big deal. But I'm telling you, like, this time I had to full blown stop what I was doing, stop in the middle of the race, hunch over, and I quite literally projectile vomited. It was bad.
Wow.
There were people running in the race that were like patting me on the back saying, "You got it, just get it out of your system, you can keep going." And I just had to stop. And I ultimately kept going and finished the race. And as soon as I crossed the finish line, I started crying because it was the slowest race that I had ever run. But I was like, dang, that was horrible. And honestly, that day, there were probably many lessons that came out of that race, but it was honestly just bad. So those were my two.
Mine's more like a series of unfortunate events of my senior year. I had a really weird senior cross country season. I started feeling super weird at the beginning of it, like in August, and I started losing my motivation, and I didn't really know. Running felt so labored to me, like more labored than it had ever felt. And we went to the doctor a bunch, and I had no clue. And we were going through the races in the season, and I was just not running what I was supposed to be running. And it felt awful. I don't know. It was so weird. And I found out that I had a really low iron count. So I was super anemic, like way more than I was supposed to be. Like they didn't even know how I was running.
Wow.
And so it was probably 3 or 4 races of the beginning of my senior season. And I even called Coach Russell after one of them. It was a Pensacola meet, or Pensacola, no, it was the Foley meet. It was a Foley Invitational. And I was like, Coach, I'm quitting. Like, I can't do this. This is before I found out I was anemic. And I was just like, I don't have any love for it anymore. But I couldn't have any because I had no energy. And so once I got the iron back in me, I was all good. But
like, running's great.
Yeah, I loved it after that. But I really thought I was going to quit after the Foley one because I was like, it was awful.
It was definitely weird to watch her go through that, like from the outside, because it was always something that we had done together, and like in practice, seeing her kind of fall back, really strange. It was
I couldn't do any of the workouts. Like I could not finish anything.
And because we knew her,
it was so uncharacteristic.
She's not it was very uncharacteristic. She's not a quitter. She's not a female that, shall we say, that stereotypical roller coaster emotional kind of.
No.
She is not. She is just as steady as anything. So for us to watch that, we're like, this is not emotional. This is steeped in some other problem.
Sure.
So I applaud the fact that her parents took her to the doctor because they know her and they knew there has to be some reason. Sure enough, that's what it was. And her numbers were abysmal. Like it wasn't a little anemic. She was like, they're like, how is she keeping up in the morning?
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Well, and congrats to keep running.
Yes.
Figure it out.
Now I'm running in college.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I guess it all worked out.
Any advice that you would give to anyone that wants to start running?
Just move. Just move and let it always be your run and your racing. Because here again, I'm at a different stage in life. So a lot of times, other than my kids I coach, it's that are going through whatever time of life they are. Either they've just had a baby, or their kids are leaving home, or they're getting a little older. There are all these reasons to not run and feel like, well, I'm not a runner. I'm not an athlete. I don't look like this. I don't look like that. I wasn't an athlete. No, just move. And I tell these ladies, I don't care if you walk the whole time. I said, and then tell yourself, I'm going to sort of jog for 30 seconds and let that be that day's goal. Then it's going to wind up being, I'm going to run half and walk half. And I said, one day you're going to turn around and realize you didn't walk at all. You ran.
Yeah.
And anybody can be a runner.
That's right.
And so just run your race, do it for yourself. I always say, I love the competition of races. I really do. And quite honestly, I do win my age group. There's all these, whatever, that's fun and that's nice. But I don't pick out somebody and want to beat. I want to beat myself.
That's right. Yeah.
So I'm constantly setting new goals. And if I PR, the rule is enjoy and celebrate the PR for 24 hours and then immediately set a new goal. And that's kind of the advice I want to tell people. Give yourself grace. Don't ever compare yourself to someone else and think you're not enough. You are enough. And just concentrate on, I'm going to maybe go a little further, a little faster, or run a little more than I'll walk the next time. And just let that be your journey.
I love that.
She actually said one of the things that I was going to say, because I am very hard on myself. So one of my biggest things was giving myself grace whenever I felt like I needed it. I definitely had to give myself grace a lot this past cross country season, because I was beating myself up over wanting to run in college and my grades. And I was doing ACT tutoring, which was taking up a lot of my time. And there was a day at practice where I was running with coach, because of course, he wanted to do his thing where I run with the guys, but then he put me with himself, and we were doing a hill workout. And I literally, after I think 4 of them, we got to the top and I just broke down, because I had so much stress, like external stress, that at that point running wasn't a stress relief, because I was thinking about all the things that I was going to have to do when I got home. So I had to learn to give myself grace a lot this past year. Another thing I would say is very similar to the don't compare yourself, but honestly, for me, it kind of goes deeper than that, because I'm always so worried about doing bad and wondering what people in the audience or the crowd are going to think. And also, a lot of my accomplishments aren't gold medals or winning, but I think a lot of my accomplishments are related to my character, sort of. So I think for me, those are, I don't want to say bigger, but you can win all the gold medals and still be a terrible person. So I think for me, winning or losing with grace is a big thing for me. And one thing my dad also has always told me is, in order to win, you have to be willing to lose. So you have to put yourself out there in order to even have the option of winning. And for me, that kind of was a big thing.
So I also agree with Ms. Jones about you just got to start. That for anyone new, like, you just have to start. I was not in shape at all when I first started. And also, to add on to that, is you have to embrace the suck as well. Like, it's going to suck. It's no one starts running and just can go and run some crazy time and feel great. Like, it's going to feel all, especially the first couple weeks, but it gets better. All you got to know is you start feeling better after runs.
I like it. I like it a lot.
And I think it's all in one word can make all the difference. And I've told them this before. I've said, don't say, I have to go run. Say, I get to go run.
Absolutely.
And so that one change in word can just color everything completely differently.
Sure. Running goals?
Okay, so my goal is to finally be cute. So I've got to be cute. Even if I never run Boston, I just want to know that I was able to do that. Because I have to say, until I ran a marathon, and I've been running so many years, I only ran my first marathon 1.5 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the marathon is to be respected. It
Yeah.
is a whole other
Yeah.
universe. And I couldn't even grasp it mentally until I went through it, because I'd done so many halves, and I thought, it's twice the difference, whatever. I'm just twice as crazy. But it is to be respected. So I want to be able to say that I pushed myself on what, in my opinion, is the hardest thing I've ever done, and to be able to get that beat. I want that myself.
Yeah. I have no doubt you'll get it. No doubt at all.
I'm going to try.
So in my senior year journey of thinking I wanted to run in college and honestly sabotaging myself out of it because I overthought it, I'm now going to Auburn, and there's a running club up there that I'm going to do. And whenever I thought I wanted to run in college, all the places I looked at, I felt like I was going to have to sacrifice my academics for running. And that's not really what I wanted. So for me, I want to do half marathons and just kind of make running super duper fun
Mhm.
for the rest of my life because I know I'm going to run forever
Yeah.
for the rest of my life. That's something that's not like baseball where after you finish, you're kind of done. You can hit a ball around, but running is something that can stick with you for the rest of your life. And I don't want to lose it because it does make my life a lot better. So I think for college wise, continue running, make it fun, do the running club, do a half, maybe a few, because I'll probably do more than one. But so just keep running.
I like that.
Unlike CA, I was the complete opposite. I had no intention of running in college. Starting my senior year, I wasn't even in my ballpark, but it happened and it all worked out with Spring Hill. And so I think I don't want it to become a job for me. I want it to be something that I still love. So my only goal is not to hit a certain time in college or hit this 800 time or 6K time. I just want to still love it. So I want to do it because I love it. And so as long as I'm happy doing it, then that's all that matters for me.
That's amazing. Wow. Do you guys have a mantra that when it's a hard run or a quote unquote bad run that you say to yourself?
Probably for me, it is run your race, Susie. Run your race.
Oh, wow.
I don't have a saying that's consistent, but I do always try to tell myself things that I could do better. If I'm in a cross country race and I'm kind of hurting, I'll be like, okay, pump your arms more. Maybe it won't suck so bad. Or you're about to run up a hill, take a lot of deep breaths, give your muscles some more oxygen. And when you get to the hill, just go fast. I think for me, it's more of prepare myself for what's about to come if it's a cross country race more. And then honestly, just kind of tell myself what to do better that I know typically helps me A, go faster, or B, feel less pain. So
very nice. I like it.
When I'm hurting in a race, I like to tell myself, have I ever not, like, I'm still alive. I'm going to finish this no matter, regardless of the time, regardless of how it ends. I'm going to make it another day. I'm going to do another race. It's not that deep. And also, I try to remind myself that I'm here because I love it and that no one's forcing me to run this race. And so it makes me appreciate it a little bit more.
I love that. How does it feel to have set a history at St. Luke's?
That is pretty amazing.
it's
Yeah, they can't take it away from them.
No,
they will
yeah,
always
it's-
see
yeah.
the first group of any runners at that school, male or female, to be a champion.
It's like I said earlier, it's honestly kind of wild. I don't even really know if it's fully processed in my brain.
And when we get our rings.
We still haven't even gotten our state rings, but I think that day and just kind of knowing what we did, and it was so odd because the week before state, the girls team had a meeting and we compared our times to all the other girls that we were competing against, and we discussed what each of us needed to do, how many seconds we needed to PR by, all the things. And we were like, well, we know we can get second, so we're going to run for second. And then somehow, in some way, we ran. I honestly feel like in that race, we ran for each other. We didn't even run to win at all. And I'm talking at all. So I feel like we ran for each other. I think the girls on our team this past year really loved me and Taylor as seniors and as people. So I feel like they ran for us as well. And I think our team this past year really just kind of had a close-knit bond that we wanted to do it for each other. So for me, that's
that.
It was really special for me because looking back at the team, there was only one girl that had actually been running for a long time. She was Rowan. She's a sophomore, and so she's been running since seventh grade for a really long time. And so she's the only one that actually has a ton of experience. And so it was really interesting us being able to win with a team that is so new.
Yeah,
Every single girl that ran, other than Rowan, had just started recently within the past 2 years.
Yeah.
And 2 years, it's just from her being in seventh grade to that year, and then to us having 2 years. That was the most experience that we've had. And so it was super interesting because literally none of us had any intention. And so looking back at us getting it, it's like, well, I didn't even know I was going to be running cross country. So like, it's wow, like I won a state, and I didn't even know I was going to, if you would have told me a year before that, like I would have not, I would be like, no, I'm not. Like I was not running cross country.
I definitely would not believe anybody if they had told me.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so it hasn't sunk in for really any of us yet. And that was in November. We won in November.
Wow. Wow. When you're not running, what do you like to do?
Spend time with family. Yeah, I love to read. I love to cook. I love to just be with my family.
Okay.
I'm a very big beach person, pool person, anywhere with water person. I do spend a lot of time with my family. I will say my family is we're very close knit. We always hang out. Recently, for my birthday, my boyfriend Garrett got me lots of rolls of yarn with the pre-looped holes, and I have started a new thing of making my blanket, and I actually really enjoy it because I just do the same loop over and I can just chill. So I think that's honestly become a very enjoyable thing for me.
Okay.
If I haven't said it enough, I do love. Yeah, I really do. I do lift a lot, and I don't. If I wasn't running, I definitely think I'd probably be like CrossFit or
Okay.
some type of lifting all time, or just going to the gym. So I think if I wasn't running, I'd be lifting. I like working out, and if not, I like a good show, like Netflix show. I like starting out with my mom. That's always fun. My family's also very close. I'm pretty much a home.
Any final words of wisdom?
Oh gosh, I would say again, just get up and move. Our country as a whole is just far too overweight, and we bring on a lot of health problems that would not probably have happened had we been more mindful about moving our bodies. And with the technology we have, there isn't as much occasion to get out and move. So the one thing I would tell people is I can't stress enough the benefits emotionally and physically from running, or just move.
Yeah.
Just do something physical. It brings you together. It puts you with a great community of people. And again, you'll have the emotional and the physical benefits, and you're just going to feel better.
I love that.
I think one of my final things is, for me, and I want other people to know that if you only celebrate the big accomplishments, you're going to burn yourself out. If you only celebrate winning a gold medal or getting first or second or third, and your only focus is getting first, you're just going to burn yourself out. So I think celebrating these small achievements, whether that is a millisecond, a second, half a second, whatever it is, you have to celebrate the small things just as much as you celebrate the big things, because you have to give yourself credit. All runners, however long you run, however much you run, you're still a runner. Celebrating the small things, it definitely gives yourself a little bit of credit for the things you don't. And just, if you're a competitive runner, your times aren't who you are. And I struggled with that a lot. And so I feel like I don't want that for other people.
That's so good.
Just that running isn't a punishment. It's
It's
not punishment. Like it's supposed, we're blessed to even be able to. And I think also, if anything, like looking at Charlie Ann and I's very short but jam-packed I can really count it 2 years of running for everything it's done for our lives just in such a short amount of time. Like I can't wait to see what it's going to for the rest, or anyone starting out.
Well, thank you, ladies.
Thank you for having us.
Of course. Yeah, this has been so great.
Absolutely. We're your first trio.
That's right, first trio.
What some incredible stories, and cannot wait to see what CA and Taylor, what they do with their lives. They are going to be world changers, and I cannot wait to see who else comes along and gets coached at St. Luke's by a coach. They're amazing women that were sitting in this room, and I just was in awe of all three of them. Just their stories and just giving back and their mentality for running. I think that is something that all of us as runners need to focus on, and that is, if it's not fun anymore, why do it? And that was just amazing. I love their mentality about running. I appreciated how they were so humble about being the first ever state champs at St. Luke's. And kudos to them. Kudos to their families. Kudos to their coaches for making them who they are today. They're incredible, incredible women. And so truly grateful that I got to sit down. Can't wait for the next few years to be able to talk to them and see where they're at in their running world. So super excited for them. Again, thank you to St. Luke's. Thank you to Susie. Thank you for coming out and sharing your story. Truly grateful for that. And again, Do Goods for opening up your doors for us to be able to share that podcast. And as always, a huge shout out to the man himself, Gaillard Tech Services, who always does an amazing job of editing and making sure that everything sounds as best as it can when it comes to the podcast, because I am not techno savvy, but he is. He can also build websites, also does tutoring, even having a summer camp. So check him out at Gaillard Tech Services. You'll be happy you did. And as always, guys, just thank you so much for supporting the podcast. Make sure you like it, you share it. If you want to become a Patreon supporter, we can hook you up with that as well. And just thank you for believing in Run Your Story. And to the 3 ladies who shared your story, thank you for sharing how it's community and how when we're there with one another, we push one another and we make each other better. And I love that. That was just absolutely amazing. And you guys get it. It's about community. And I love that so much. I'm so grateful for that. So, ladies, your story became a part of my story, which is such an honor. And now it's become a part of our story. And so, guys, get out there, lace up your running shoes, hit the pavement, and run your story, because every story needs to be heard.